Hi everyone, Xavier here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over the last part of the 4K movie collection here. Um, yeah, this is it. This is the not exactly the last video since I still will want to do a tally of the value of the collection, but this is basically all of the rest of the movies I have. I was saving these obviously for the last part, which is 4K Steelbooks and the top shelf, which you can see I've removed, save for Psyche K Blu-ray, since you already saw that. So yeah, these are the ones that I think are the most, maybe they're the most valued. I don't know, because I'm gonna have to do all the tally for all the titles to get all the value, which I might do on stream if the stream works or not, but we'll see. Without further ado, let's get started. So, starting off with the 4K Steelbooks, I will say there is one Steelbook that is in the top shelf, which you'll see later. But first off, we have A Clockwork Orange. This is my favorite Stanley Kubrick film. So I had to get, and I remember finding it on Steelbook for a decent price, so I had to get it. I'm not going to try to open up every DVD here because they're a bit hard to get out. Because if you don't know, Steelbooks have this weird slide type of thing where the 4K is here, the Blu-ray is here. You have to remove the 4K and get the Blu-ray out. It's a bit annoying. But in general, I think this is a very good design. It's very simplistic. I think the scene inside here is from the milk bar place. But in general, Clockwork Orange, I think, is my favorite of the Kubrick films. I'm not the biggest fan of the ending in terms of what they left out from the book. But generally speaking, greatly acted, fantastic score, Kubrick's, direction and just all the scenes, I can handpick any scenes. I love them. But yeah, Clockwork Orange, what a classic. Up next, we got Dracula, the original with Bela Lugosi. Now, these I got very cheap when they were starting to come out. This was when Universal did the classic Monsters collection, the first four. And I got all, now you'll see in the video, all free except for the Invisible Man, which from what I've heard, it probably either is very rare or doesn't even exist, which is a shame because I would love to get that on Steelbook. And these Steelbooks were very cheap, like $25. It was like cheaper, I think, than getting the basic 4K. And as for Dracula, it's a horror classic. It's clearly aged because it is from the 30s. But you gotta love Bela Lugosi. You gotta love the gothic set design and just generally speaking, the influence that this film had to vampires and Dracula itself. And the cover here, like that's inside, is like when Dracula bites what's his name, Jonathan Harker's wife. I'm forgetting her name. Sorry. But yeah, really love that movie. Just basically purely on Bela Lugosi's performance. Up next is Frankenstein. Again, a classic. Whether or not I prefer this or Dracula, I would probably say that Frankenstein ages better than Dracula. There's more that's a bit happening in Frankenstein. There's more. It has a bit more going with it. I do wish that they had a steelbook of Bride of Frankenstein, which I don't have yet because there's only a slipcover and it's not the best priced, especially for a black and white movie that is on the shorter side. Whereas this is it was good value for when it came out. Frankenstein, inside is just him making Frankenstein before he's alive, moment. And yeah, as for how the black and white films look in 4K, they look as good as you can get, practically. Universal did a good job with these. And I'm not going to say these are the most rewatchable films ever, but it's always nice to pop in every now and then to see how far we've come. All right, next up, we got Gremlins. This was a bit of a pricier steelbook I got. I don't know why exactly. I was always wanting to get this one. I managed to get one. It was the last one in the store, the digital copy and everything. So I thought, okay, that's good. I like the back cover, just a little stripe, and I don't know why he's so tiny over there, just by himself. As for what I think about Gremlins, I remember watching this a lot when I was a kid. Yeah, the inside is just the Gremlins in the bar. I mean, over time, I still think it's a very good movie. However, it has got a lot more popularity. Some people think it's amazing, which I wouldn't go so far. Like, it's definitely a nostalgic film for me because I watched a lot when I was a kid. But I do have some issues personally. I feel that the Gremlins were a bit too likable. I didn't want them to die at the end, which was not exactly how they were envisioning the film. They wanted the Gremlins to be more scary, and you want them to, get destroyed by the end. But there's barely, since they don't really kill too many people. It's like I don't even think they're a problem to, really destroy them. In my opinion. But that's just how the movie goes. I don't know if they're going to do Gremlins 2 on 4K, but I'm probably not going to pick that up. I'm not a fan of Gremlins 2. But yeah, and it's also, I think, a really good 4K. Like, I know some people said, there's too much DNR, but I think it looks great. Up next, we got Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. The thing, so I got this Steelbook because it was only a few dollars more than the standard cover, so why not? And besides, I have the other Mission Impossible films in the collection, so may as well go special with this. Love the design for this Steelbook with the whole stunts in the climax. And I mean, I'm not going to try to remove every disc, but if you can barely see, it's just when Tom Cruise is hanging on the train when the train's starting to fall. And if you want to know my thoughts about this movie, I think it's definitely up in the best of the film, of the Mission Impossible films. It is the AI plot line. It could get, some people might not like it. They think it'll age, but I personally like it. I think that the action's top notch. I really like the cast of characters here. Christopher McQuarrie just knocks out the park. All the stunts, all the action, all the spectacle. I think it's as good as it can. I'm looking forward to the next film. And yes, even though this is a part one, it doesn't feel like a big cliffhanger. Like, say, I'm trying to remember, a movie that has a cliffhanger of a part one. Across the Spider-Verse. It's not like the story is finished by the time you get to the ending. This, at the very least, when you're at the ending, the story is finished. Ethan Hunt gets what he needs for the next step of the adventure. Yes, the villain gets away, but he's practically back to back to zero because, he gets away, but he has nothing in his advantage, and everyone is starting to go in separate paths. And it's that is a conclusion. I can't wait to see part two or the next film since they removed part two and part one from the Dead Reckoning. I don't even know what's going to be called when it comes out. But yeah, really like this film. Very much looking forward to and the future Mission Impossible films. Just a sec. I'll just a sec here. There you go. All right. Here comes an odd one in terms of I shouldn't have got this on 4K. It was a bit too expensive, and I don't know why I couldn't just wait because here it goes. Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Running Man. Now, this is a classic 80s action movie loosely based on a Stephen King film. Now, this, if you can tell, this is a slipcover with a steelbook. Now, if you notice here, you have to avoid these ones. It's called First Time on 4K. It makes you think that this is going to be a limited edition, which technically it is. It's a steelbook. Paramount likes to really do this, where basically they will put out a steelbook of a movie, leave it out for a year. At 4K only, you have to get the steelbook, and then the next year they'll put it as a slipcover and make it reduced. It's kind of like what they did with War of the Worlds, the classics War of the Worlds film. And I got suckered into this one because I thought this is the only time you can get this on 4K. Of course, that didn't happen. I spent a little bit too much, but to be fair, you know what? I really like this movie. The Running Man is just a classic. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger films in general, and having the guy from Price is Right be the villain, it's great. Now the issue with this is that the digital code that came with it didn't work because it was from the U.S. And there is only a 4K, which is going to be a bit bad if, say, I want to watch it on Blu-ray and a Blu-ray player, but I have a 4K player anyways, doesn't matter. So it's a bit, on the stingy side. I don't think there's even special features at all, which is definitely an issue. But I really like this movie. I think that the steelbook looks great. The inside was just Arnold getting talked to by the villain of the story. who's about to send him to the Running Man game. And yeah, no, this is I really love this movie. There's a lot of fun moments with this one. And it looks great on 4K too. So I wouldn't recommend getting the Steelbook because I don't think it's really worth it. But, get on slipcover. It's far cheaper. So with that said, next up we got The Shawshank Redemption. Fantastic movie. There's not much to say. I think a lot of people know about this movie and why it's considered a masterpiece. The inside shot of like the most iconic, moment in the film, and looks great on 4K. I got this, on a good deal with the Steelbook. Yeah, there's not much to say about The Shawshank Redemption. I think it's, universally known as one of the most beloved films of all time. So, and it's definitely like almost for me, like it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Next up, Tangled. I got this one secondhand, even though it's, wrapped with the digital code and everything. But I just, back in Ottawa, the old, movie store that had to shut down, they had it like, as one of their more quote unquote premium items. But yeah, it still cost me like $20, $22 for a Steelbook, 4K Steelbook. So you know what? That's good. In general, I think Tangled's a good movie. It's not one of my favorites. It's a bit flawed in areas, but I do think it's a very charming movie, very good movie. Inside, the whole, I think the song from the movie, but the whole love song in that movie. I do like the 4K disc art being a concept art from the movie, not like a scene, like the concept art, like that they did prior to animating the movie. But in general, Tangled, I really like it. I think it's better than Frozen. If you want to get into that debate. So, yeah. Next up, we actually got a revisit. A revisit as in this is a film I already covered in a different format, and that is Willy's Wonderland. Now, I already covered it on Blu-ray, but since they announced the 4K, I have given the Blu-ray version to a friend of mine, and, I got this on 4K. Now, I will say I'm a little disappointed in the fact that how would you say, like the special features were a bit lackluster. I was expecting a commentary, like this is Shout Factory, so I thought, oh, they're gonna put more effort, and I'll say this: they put effort into the 4K of the film. Like it looks great. This is an upscale film because it's an indie film practically. It's not like they have IMAX cameras or anything, but they put a lot of effort into the HDR and in the resolution to make it look as good as possible. So I'm happy with that. I already talked about the film on the Blu-ray, side. I don't need to do the whole sing the song or explain why I like the movie, even though it's flawed. I will say this: it's not the best movie ever, and it could have been much more, engaged. Like there are definitely issues, but I think it's still a fun movie, flaws and all. Inside is just Nicolas Cage fighting the gorilla guy, which I'm not gonna move all the discs to show, but. Honestly, if you have it on Blu-ray, I'd actually recommend the upgrade if you have a 4K player because it looks really good and the HDR really helps out with the visuals of the movie. But, I would say, temper your expectations of what you get from the package. You're not going to get Dolby Atmos from this. And the special features, there are a bit of extra features that they added that weren't from the Blu-ray. But it's not like you're getting a commentary or, deleted scenes or anything like that. So temper your expectations. Next up, I think this was the first 4K Steelbook I got, and this was also from the store back in Ottawa, and also this is when I would start getting into collecting movies of this caliber, and that is Terminator: Dark Fate. I love this movie. I don't want to get into a whole discussion about why this movie is very good and why people are wrong when it's like it's terrible and the whole John Connor thing and all that stuff. It's obviously it's not gonna beat the first two films, but like the first two films are like fantastic films to begin with. Like the first two films are like 10 out of 10s. This is like an 8 out of 10. But some people see that as a bad thing. But personally, I think it's a good thing. 4K of the villain, which I liked in the movie. Linda Hamilton was great. I will say the inside of the 4K is really lame. It's just the black goo. Looks like venom, like inside the 4K design. That's not the best design. I'll say that it's a little like I'm not gonna say like the 4K Steelbook is the most exciting. It's a bit on the lackluster, even though I kind of like this like thing inside here. It looks great on 4K. Dark Fate in general, I don't want to get into a whole debate. If you want to know more of why I like it, watch Cody Leach's thoughts on the movie because his thoughts generally reflect what I think in terms of why I think it's a great movie, why some of the criticisms are misinterpreted, and in general, it's a shame that they didn't really that the film failed. We're not going to get a sequel. Now, granted, I would say that I don't like movies that try to have set up a trilogy when they haven't even got to a second movie yet. Like because technically this movie does end on a ending. It's not like oh my god, it's a cliffhanger and it's not resolved. It is just more of a somber note that the future is going to happen, but now we'd have the hero being trained to deal with it. But we would like to have seen the future war and stuff. But in general speaking, great movie. I don't want to start talking about it a lot because like I can go on and on about why this is a great movie. And last on the general 4K Steelbooks, I do have one more you'll see later, and that is the Wolfman. This is one of my least favorites of those 30s, or in this case, it's a 1940 film, classic Universal films. The makeup looks great. I think it's Lon Chaney Jr. that's the Wolfman. He's good. The rest of the movie is not that great though. It's definitely the one that's aged the most. It is slow. The romance is not good, and it's just a very like, it's one of those slow burn movies where things happen by the ending, which some people like. I personally like in some movies. This is not for this when the romance is very lackluster. But the Wolfman, it's still a classic. The makeup, is revolutionary. Well, like still it was like a big deal with the whole like how they did it at the time. It's still like a well-made film, like in terms of like the production and when it comes to that like genre. But when it comes to the actual like rewatchability, it's definitely on the lower side. Again, got this on Steelbook when it was cheap when all those movies were coming out. Still glad that's in my collection, regardless how I feel about whether the movie is aged or not. All right, getting to the home stretch. So here we go. No alphabetical order for this one. Like they're aside there's no real alphabetical order for these last piles. So starting off now, I think you can already see the spoiler there with the posters. I already explained in the last video why. Like I didn't really explain, but this is it. The Conan Chronicles on Arrow Video. This is the first Arrow video I got for the Conan films, Barbarian and Destroyer. I love these movies. I love this packaging. I want to fumble through them, but it came with the posters. It comes with the Conan Chronicles, which is like a behind the scenes making of book, and the movies are packed with features. They look fantastic. They have, and in general speaking, Conan the Barbarian, a lot of people love. Basil Podoros' music. Now I remember his name. Fantastic. And yes, I did have the original Conan on the original Conan the Barbarian on Blu-ray. But when I learned about the 4K, I gave it to a friend, and now I have it on 4K and it looks great. I watched Conan the Destroyer for the first time when I got this because I was meaning to get like a 2-movie pack of a Blu-ray, but I never got to it. So I decided to wait until the 4K was out. Conan the Destroyer, I actually think is pretty good. It's like I get why people aren't a big fan of it compared to the original Conan, but like I love the adventure, the fantasy adventure like style of it. The action's still solid. Arnold's still great. Like there's the filmmaking's fantastic. Podoros still knocks out the park in the score, even though it's not as good as the original film. The sequel's no slouch. But yeah, I don't really want to start opening all these because it gets a little bit annoying with like trying to put them all back together. But yeah, this is a fantastic collection set. It wasn't even that expensive for me, at least in terms of like, it could have been $100 and stuff. Like, that's why it's like, why don't I, where's the Godfather collection or Harry Potter and stuff like that? They're like over $100. This is like less than that. So I'm happy I got this, and I recommend watching those Conan films because they are fantastic. I wish they made a third film that they were always planning to do, but they never did. All right, next up, I already talked about this on a short, so I'm not gonna go into it much. Super Mario Brothers. I already talked about what my thoughts about the movie on my short when I got this 4K. It's up on the top shelf. Same with the Conan Chronicles because it is an Arrow Video collection, very premium stuff. This is an import from Australia, and this is like they put effort with a lot of stuff. Now the unfortunate thing is that the Blu-ray I can't play because it is the 4K I can play. I can watch the movie and I can access the deleted scenes. The Blu-ray, I can't because it is Australian. I need a region-free Blu-ray player. But I do love the just the love for this original movie. The art is so bad, but I kind of love it. And then you have like the more traditional poster artwork of the film. And open it up, just the poster of the movie, and a nice little inversion of it. So yeah, like, if you want to know my thoughts about the Super Mario Bros. Movie, watch the short. But in general, I think it's really good despite how it was hated when it came out at the time. Next up is Jaws. Now, this is you can tell, this is not a steelbook. It's more of like a, what is it called? I forgot the name of these things. The image moves and stuff. It makes the noise when you do this. But yeah, Jaws, this is a classic. Now, this is like a special edition version when it came out for the 4K anniversary. So you got the cover here, which looks great. This is the classic poster. And a little behind-the-scenes booklet of the making of, which is nice. It's kind of like what Arrow did. And just the movie. Like, it's a near 10 out of 10. It aged a bit where it did have an impact of how people viewed sharks and killing them. And it sucks because sharks are amazing creatures, and definitely I can see people not be into the movie in some areas where it's a bit slow. But this is a slow burn film that works effective compared to say 1940s The Wolfman. But generally speaking, I love what Universal did with this collection, not collection, just this packaging where it's not even like a steelbook or this $100 collector's edition. It's just nice original covering with the group. I'm forgetting the name of it, like the magic image, and the little booklet of the special not special features, behind the scenes making of. I really love that. I got this I think it was cheaper than getting it just by itself. So you can't really in general, I really love this this whole pack in general. I'm really glad I got this. All right. Next up is Apocalypse Now, the final cut. I put this up on the shelf. Same with the Jaws, I put up the shelf because, special, groove, imaging thing. Super Mario Brothers, really ridiculous import of a fantastic cult film. Apocalypse Now, because look how bulky this is. I can't put this in the shelf, in like a shelf, like that's in squished by other stuff. This is a ridiculous package because you have a ton of discs. Look at this. You have 2 4Ks. You got 4 Blu-rays. You got a lot of stuff. And that's also just because there's a lot of special features. There are free cuts of the movie, I believe. The theatrical cut, the what was it called? The Redux, and the final cut of Apocalypse Now. As for what I think about Apocalypse Now in general, I think it's good. I think it's a bit overrated because there's just, for me, more engaging Vietnam war films for me. It's a bit long in areas. I feel that the first half, or I think this the first half, or first 2/3 of the film, are great because it's doing something unique. The third, the ending with now I'm forgetting his name, Barlin, Barlin Man. Whatever. I'm moving on. The villain of the movie, who played Superman's dad, and I don't want to mess up his name, Godfather guy. And when he shows up, it's not that bad. It's interesting, but it's also like I prefer the more satirical side of the first half of the movie, where it is more of a message towards the Vietnam War and how ridiculous it was with the guy in this who wants to surf, and just more of a satirical approach to it. That's like dark comedy, but taken seriously in a way. I really wish that the film stuck with it more than just at the ending it just kind of changes. But in general, this is still a good movie. There is a reason why it's a very beloved movie. And I am kind of happy that I got this, special packaging of the 4K and the final cut. It looks great. And I'm not gonna get rid of my 4Ks in general. Like it's gonna be on my shelf forever. All right, the last two things to go over. First up, Army of Darkness on Steelbook. You all know my thoughts about Bruce Campbell. I love the Evil Dead franchise. This is a fantastic steelbook of Army of Darkness, which is a fantastic movie in my opinion. And this package comes with the theatrical cut of the movie on 4K, the Blu-ray. You also and the other Blu-rays that are included are the director's cut and the international cut. I really love the art of all these movies, of all these discs, because it's like different posters from different regions, like the international cut, the Evil Dead 2 skull for some reason, but like this one looks fantastic. It's like kind of the weirdest one with Ash. It looks like Conan the Barbarian. It's very inspired by that actually, with the big muscular man. But yeah, I'm not gonna go into Army of Darkness because I think a lot of people know about it, and I also think that it's just a fantastic. Yeah, like I don't there's not much to say about that movie. It's fantastic. It puts Sam Raimi, well, the Evil Dead franchise put Sam Raimi on the map, but this is like peak Evil Dead. Like well, actually no, Evil Dead in general is peak. So as I've already shown in my video going over the Disney's Army of Darkness, which and that's also why you can tell this is my favorite franchise. I made an entire script about Evil Dead and Ash Williams, called Disney's Army of Darkness as a Disney crossover, and I showed this in the same video. The Evil Dead Groovy Collection. This is the most expensive thing I purchased for a movie, which is, I think it was like $120, and it comes with Evil Dead 2, and Ash vs. Evil Dead all seasons. I'm going to open it up right now. So you got this side here, you got this side here, you got old Ash here saying Groovy. You have a little ribbon here, you just open up, you just gotta, this sec here. It helps you take the book out, but this isn't like, now I kind of, I'm not gonna say, oh, it should have been a Necronomicon, but, whatever. But you take out this book, which where's the DVDs or the 4Ks in this case, and they're all in this book. So you got like Evil Dead 1, you got them all this packaging, you got the plot synopsis, the original poster and everything. Evil Dead 1, like technically you can say it's my quote unquote least favorite. No, actually no, all these movies are great because I love the subversion that the first film did with the horror genre of Ash being the main character and just the low budget grittiness of it. So Evil Dead 1's a classic for me. Evil Dead 2, is also, a lot of people prefer the first one. I think they're about as equal. If I want something more serious, I want something more comedic. Evil Dead 2, fantastic, with the 4K and Blu-ray as well. The plot synopsis. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I was going to say, what about Army of Darkness? Because this is not Universal. Universal owns the right for Army of Darkness. That's why I had to get Army of Darkness as a steelbook. It's not like, oh, this... also had Army of Darkness, and I'm just a crazy Evil Dead, nerd who wants to collect everything that. That's not it. It just doesn't have Army of Darkness. Instead, it has the seasons of the show, which the first season I think is pretty good. It has a few episodes that could have been changed or removed, but I think it's still a fun season. They're on Blu-ray. I kind of wish they, did 4K, but, this is, TV shows rarely get 4K transfers anyway. Season 2, I personally think, is the peak of the show. This is like nearly a perfect season of television. And then there's season 3. Fans love season 3. I'm not one of them. I don't want to get into it. That's its own discussion. Outside of it being the final season that was not meant to be a final season, and a lot of lazy like repeats from the franchise, some questionable decisions. Season 3 was just very disappointing, and it honestly, I kind of wish that these don't come with it. Someday, I always wondered if I could just remove these and throw them away. But honestly, I'm just keeping them because for the sake of the collection, you know. We watched it recently. It's not unwatchable. There's still fun scenes. It's just the writing and the storytelling and all the stuff that they repeat from last season was grating to me. It just made like it's for me it's the Game of Thrones season 8 of the Game of Thrones fans. For me, this is like the Evil Dead version of it. So yeah. And there's like a bonus disc which I haven't actually watched yet. I don't know what's exactly in it. I guess a bunch of making of, because making of like behind the scenes, deleted scenes, all that stuff. So yeah, that's it. That's the big finish to the collection. And as you can tell, really. I mean, I must have repeated it over 100 times, but I love Bruce Campbell. I love the Evil Dead franchise, so I had to end this entire series off with this, with the big package. So, thanks for watching. Now, what to expect going forward is that I will try to do a stream of the value of the individual films. If the stream doesn't work, I'm going to try to do a test stream to try to see if I can do a stream like this with what I have. If it's not able to do it, I'll just have to tally everything off screen, and then make a video going over everything. I'm not going to make it this like a big long video, because that's the point of the stream. But basically, there is one final part of the video that is going over the 4Ks. And then after that, I'll do an update video regarding what's going to happen for the rest of the year and so on. So thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. And thank you for joining me on this, kind of long series about the 4K collection and just with the collection in general and just loving movies as a whole. So thank you.